Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about a topic that many of you have sent me emails about. On yesterday's show, we kind of brushed over it a little bit with Greg and Nicole, and I'll just get right to it. I'm just going to tell you what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about exit strategies. Now, for many of you, you have no concept of what I'm talking about, but let me see if I can put it into a very succinct let me just get into it here. An exit strategy is basically a planned concept where you are going to begin doing something and then you will finish doing it somewhere down the road. Now, a lot of us have exit strategies. Some of you had exit strategies for your marriages. I hate to point that out, but some of you did. Others of you have exit strategies for your jobs. You know, you're working hard doing the things that you're doing. You're putting in the time. You're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. You're on that game plan of working 30 or 40 or maybe even 50 years trying to get to retirement. And of course, we talk about a different exit strategy on this show. The exit strategy of learning how to invest correctly into real estate, and by doing so, we can get you on an exit strategy of getting you out of your current job in 5 years or less just by following the things that we do. And to start off the show, I asked my buddy Lee Reeves to come on. Now, Lee is one of our two-day presenters. What does that mean? It means he's one of the folks that's out there educating all of the membership on how to do this stuff. Lee has a very compelling exit strategy that he and I talked about before we went on the air. Let me just bring Lee on and just ask him the question. Lee, what was your exit strategy?
Hey, Al, thanks for having me on. We were talking before the show, and we were talking generically about exit strategies. And the strategy most people have is go to school, go to college, go to grad school maybe, work in a job for 50 years, and then retire with your 401k or your IRA or your pension or whatever. And what I found was I was working as an attorney in New York. I tell people now I'm a recovering attorney. It's a multi-step process. It takes a while. But I found that when I was working around the clock, that I was doing okay, but I wanted to do better than okay, and most people out there do. And I knew that my plan wasn't working. My exit was to continue to work myself to death for another 50 years, and that wasn't something that excited me. And what I discovered when I found Lifestyles Unlimited was that there is a different exit strategy out there, right? We build cash flow until it replaces our expenses. Right? It pays for all of our expenses. And to me, that was a real paradigm shift and a different kind of exit strategy. And then I pursued it, and I accomplished that goal within 3 years.
And you knocked it out of the park, because I know your story real well. And without getting into the details of your story, what I'd really like to know is how can you help the members of our listening audience change their lives?
That's a great question and a great segue to something that I do want to show people, and I can go into further detail on in my seminar if you guys want to attend that with me. But if you want to check out Lifestyles the way that I did, you can go and attend one of our free workshops. It's conducted by webinar. Okay. Register at lifestylesunlimited.com, lifestylesunlimited.com. We also have a case study coming up this Thursday. It's on webinar. It's August the 13th. It starts at 6 p.m. Central Time. You can find that information on lifestylesunlimited.com as well. And the 2-day financial freedom seminar that changed my course of life we have coming up this weekend. It's a live stream. It's August the 15th and 16th. And then we have a special 4-part evening version of that, right? If you're working in the middle of the day, weekends are not free for you. Go to the special 4-part evening Financial Freedom Seminar online. It starts next Tuesday and Thursday, and then the following Tuesday and Thursday as well. To attend that 2-day or the 4-part Financial Freedom Seminar, go to Give Me Total Freedom, GiveMeTotalFreedom.com, and the promo code there is DEL, D-E-L. Would love to have you join me, especially on that 4-part evening version.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I love the way Lifestyles Unlimited has changed the approach to education. We used to just do it on the weekends, and we realized that there were people that had conflicts, and now we're providing that same courseware midweek. And can you give me some feedback on what you're getting from the folks that are going through that process?
Generically, I can, but specific to the 4-part, we are getting feedback that, oh my gosh, I would have attended before, but it was hard because the weekends are family time, or I have a religious commitment and I just can't do it. Or for some people, they work on the weekend. Regardless of the situation, this evening version, we call it the 4-part seminar, is the same exact seminar. It's broken up into 4 different evenings, and we convey the same information as we do in that Saturday, Sunday version. But it's a lot of fun, and we're getting a lot of great feedback that it's what people have been waiting for us to do. And so we're going to be doing that starting next Tuesday.
I just think it's awesome that guys like you are out there. I mean, you've been able to retire yourself using real estate, but you're in the mode of giving back, and you are helping so many people change their lives and getting them on that road to financial freedom. Lee, I just can't say enough good stuff about what you do, and we're going to break. And any parting words?
Get active. Do it. Get involved.
Sounds like a plan. Hey, when we come back from the break, we're going to get into exit strategies. But right now, I've got an execute an exit strategy as we go to break. We'll be back right after this.
Del Walmsley on Designing a Lifestyle.
When I was younger, I decided that I was not going to live the life that the average person lived, which was to think I was going to work for the end of my life, save up enough money, and then when I'm old and gray like I am now, try to buy my life back with a pile of money that I had. I said, no, I'm going to design a life and I'm going to live that life. That's it. Period.
Are you ready to design your life? Learn how at Lifestyles Unlimited's live online free workshop. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. So on today's show, we will talk about exit strategies. I've got a whole laundry list of things I want to get through. I probably won't get through the entire thing today, so I'm just going to front load you and let you know that. But I'm going to push as much stuff through this microphone as I can today because I want to get you the information you need. But I think it's very important for you to understand one thing. When you purchase a property or an interest in a property, whether you're buying single family, you're buying multifamily, whatever you're doing, you're buying into a business. And it is very important that when you enter into some type of business opportunity, you spend some time figuring out how to get out of that business opportunity. What we don't want you to do is get to a point in time where all of a sudden everything just, the wheels come off the train, that kind of thing. That is not a very good exit strategy. Exit strategy requires planning, and that planning needs to be focused on your goals and your objectives. In other words, what is it you're trying to accomplish by buying a piece of property or buying into a syndicated real estate deal? You got to answer those questions. And I'll be right up front with you and very clear with you. Before you do any of this stuff, you need to get a proper education in real estate investing. And that's what Lee and I were talking about in the first segment. You really need to dial yourself in to a real estate education. We offer the best in the business. It's 16 hours. I do about 250 hours worth of radio over the year. And when you compare the amount of radio that I do to the 16 hours of financial freedom education that we provide when you become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, you're actually getting more efficiency by going to Lifestyles Unlimited and becoming a member, because you're not only getting the education, you're getting the mentorship, you're getting the networking, you're getting all kinds of things that will help you to go faster, and they will help you to develop your exit strategies. But let's talk about some of these strategies for exiting real estate. I know that there are many of you in the audience that you have rental properties now. There's also a bunch of you that are thinking about getting involved in real estate. Some of the things that you need to consider: an exit strategy for real estate is simple as selling the property. It may seem very simplistic, but it is a very, very good exit strategy. It's an opportunity to put a property on the market and then sell that property to the highest bidder. Just to give you an example of how that works, a gentleman I know by the name of Roger has several investment properties, and he has gotten to a point where he is executing that exit strategy. It's because he's wanting to pull that money out of single family properties. He wants to move away from investing in single family, and he wants to get into multifamily investment. So he has a legitimate plan, and he is executing that plan right now. He put 2 of his properties on the market, and I'll tell you what, the market in Texas, especially for properties below that $200,000 price range that are all fixed up and in great condition, is red hot. Now get this. He received, I think he said 37 appointments to show a property that was just vacated by his resident. So he did the fix-up work, the necessary to, make it clean, because it somebody lived in it for a little while. So he wanted to make it pop on the market. So he put a few dollars into doing that. He received 37 appointments, which turned into, I think he said his broker received something like 14 different offers on the property. They kind of whittled that down to the best and final 5 properties, or 5 offers that were made. And they went through all 5 offers and they compared, what was going to be in Roger's best interest. And I'll tell you what, he got some great offers, and he's going to sell that property. There's no getting around it. The takeaway is this: selling the property is absolutely an exit strategy. It's not only an exit strategy from a particular business unit that he was operating. So in other words, it basically closed down one business unit, but it will provide to him capital to get involved into another investment or another business unit. It's really brilliant on his part, to be honest with you. And it's not something new. It is a legitimate strategy. Now, there is another strategy out there, and this is one that I factor in. This is one that many Lifestyles Unlimited members factor into their business strategy. It's succession and estate planning. What that means is this: succession planning is when an investor passes their real estate investing business or businesses on to future generations for them to continue growing and managing the business. Now, estate planning is leaving all the assets in the investor's estate to their heirs, including any ownership interests in their real estate investing businesses, whether they operate the businesses alone or with partners. Now, let me be very clear here. If you're going to do this, you need to talk with the next generation when you create your exit strategies about both the succession and the estate plans. Make sure that the next generation desires to carry on the business. If they do, make sure they are also properly educated. One of the neat things about a Lifestyles Unlimited membership is that it is inclusive of not only your spouse or significant other, but any children you have in your household at the age of 18 or below. It gives them the opportunity to learn the same things that you learn so that they become educated. They become knowledgeable about what you're doing in real estate. We believe that to be very, very powerful. My kids have gone through all of the Lifestyles Unlimited education. Our game plan, our real long term, our long goal is that whenever I pass away, my spouse will inherit everything. And she's properly trained too. But when she passes away, my children will inherit all of our assets. And that is very, very important that they are properly educated. You know, many businesses close because future generations have chosen other career paths and just, to be honest with you, they don't want to run the family business. If your heirs don't want to run the business, then you as the investor should create an estate plan exit strategy so that your heirs can liquidate the assets and sell any business interests. I'll tell you, I went to college with a couple of guys that inherited their family business. And you know what they did over time? They ran it into the ground. And the reason they ran it into the ground because it didn't align with their goals and objectives. So very important stuff for you to sit down and think about. Very important stuff. When we come back, we're going to talk about exiting a partnership. That is important stuff too. We'll be back right after this.
With the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. We're here to answer your questions and help you become financially free.
Welcome back to the show. So we're discussing exit strategies. And exit strategies are very, very important. Let me kind of recap a little bit for you. The first thing that you need to do when you create an investment opportunity is to think about how you're going to get out of that opportunity before you execute the opportunity. So in other words, if you're going to buy a single family property and you plan to operate that property, maybe your game plan is you're going to go in and find a distressed property, you're going to fix it up following the Lifestyles Unlimited process, and you are going to find a great renter. How long are you going to hold it for? What's the game plan? You know, you need to sit down and think about how you're going to exit out of that property. And, you know, you need to take into account certain things. We're going to get into some of those things that you need to think about. But what I want to talk about right now is exiting a partnership. You know, real estate investing partnerships are often created between two or more people that bring different skills and resources to the partnership. For example, at Lifestyles Unlimited, we have many investors that come together to create a deal. In other words, to put a deal together because one particular investor can't do the deal themselves. In our world, we call that syndicating or offering a property through a lead investor to passive investors within the organization. Because the size and the structure of the deal makes it prohibitive for that individual investor to do it on their own. And before you invest in property together, you as investors need to, potentially create a limited liability company operating agreement or other partnership agreement that includes exit strategy planning. The partnership agreement needs to include what will happen if one partner wants to exit sooner than others, or if maybe a partner passes away. In other words, who will inherit his or her share of the business? Now, to give you an example, I'm just going to read to you right out of one of the operating agreements that I'm a part of in one of my multifamily deals. It says right here, the company is self-liquidating. In other words, it says, the investment objectives and policies of the company provided in section blah, blah, blah of this memorandum state that the company will be self-liquidating in that upon sale of the property acquired by the company will be dissolved. That right there is a planned exit strategy. It basically says we're all going to be in this deal until the deal is no longer a deal. until we sell the deal. It means that if we refinance the deal, we're still in the deal. It means that if one of us passes away, and I won't get into the legalese about what happens there, but those things are addressed. I think it's very important for you to understand that a partnership agreement needs to be reviewed by an attorney to ensure all parties understand and are in agreement as to how the business will operate during its lifetime, including how the partners exit. And remember, I am not an attorney. I never went to law school. I don't play an attorney on the radio. I don't pretend to be an attorney. I am just here giving you factual information. And to be honest with you, Lee Reeves, he was a real estate attorney, but he wasn't the kind of guy that would put together agreements like this. So he's not the guy you would turn to either. You would need to make sure you go to a qualified attorney. Now let's talk about some of the tax implications. These are things that many of you may not take into consideration when you get involved with an investment property. These are things that might, all of a sudden show up come time for you to file your taxes. All of a sudden, there are these tax implications that, have occurred. So let's talk about what these things are. Now, first of all, I want to tell you that there is a system out there called a 1031 exchange. And it's not something that Lifestyles Unlimited made up. It is something that the Internal Revenue Service provides. It's actually in tax code 1031E. It talks about the 1031 exchange. And what it does is it allows investors to use profits from the sale of an investment property to reinvest that money into another investment property, thereby avoiding what's called capital gains taxes. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Or depreciation recapture taxes from the profits of the sale. And we'll talk about those in a minute too. The government created this tax code to encourage investing in real estate. And, my little snide comment there is to basically protect themselves, because if you look at all the people in Congress, the vast majority of them have investments in real estate. So it's in their best interest to make sure that things like the 1031 exchange continues to perpetuate. That thing's been around for, 90 or maybe 100 years. It's been around for a while. It's not something that, the current Congress dreamed up. It's been around for my entire lifetime, and for the majority of you out there listening, your lifetime too. Now, investors can sell their rental properties and reinvest the profits in other investment properties, and get this, never pay tax until they sell and take the profits out. Now, it requires you to hold a property for a minimum of 12 months. So for those of you that are out there doing that fix and flip stuff that we don't teach as real estate investing, because it's taxed differently to begin with, but it's not a strategy for you folks, because you don't hold the property for at least a year if you're doing it right anyhow. Some of you do it wrong and you wind up holding the property for a year, in which case maybe that should have been a consideration for an exit strategy. In order to work, the property has to be like kind, meaning it has to be another investment property. What does that mean? It means an investor can sell a residential rental property and purchase maybe commercial real estate using 1031E, but you cannot use whatever you purchase as your primary residence. The 1031 exchange is a great real estate exit strategy for those of us that do buy and hold, who want to build wealth over time, maybe create a succession plan or leave a legacy to our heirs, and it works really good. Now let's talk about these capital gains things. A 1031 exchange allows you as the investor to avoid paying capital gains tax on the sale of your investment property when you reinvest the profits from the sale. If you as the investor don't want to use Section 1031, then what you need to do is plan your exit strategy for paying a capital gains tax on any profits earned from the sale. Now, how much capital gains tax you will pay? Well, it's based on your income tax bracket and other factors. But there's from what I looked up, there's 3 different capital gains rates out there. There's a 0% rate. For some of you might qualify for that. It's based on your adjusted gross income. Don't quote me on that. There's another rate that's 15%. There's another rate that's 20%. So, for planning purposes, what I would recommend, if you are thinking about not doing a 1031, you're willing to pay the capital gains. Greg and Nicole, who were on the show yesterday, they had no problems paying their capital gains. Make sure that you're planning to pay that tax when you sell. Now, I just recommend you go with the 20% bracket because I want you to be very successful and I want you to be in that 20% bracket. Now, there's another thing called depreciation recapture. Now, each year when you file your taxes, the IRS allows you to take a depreciation deduction on your investment property. And for those of you that don't know, rental property depreciation is calculated using a useful life. In other words, the improvements on the property have, according to the IRS, a useful life of 27 and a half years. It's 39 years for non-residential commercial properties, but for single-family properties, for multifamily investments, it's 27 and a half years. Now, if you sell the property, the IRS may assess what's called a depreciation recapture tax. We're getting ready to go to break, and man, I can't get into depreciation recapture tax. But what I will do when we come back from the break is I will talk about that. And more so, I'm going to talk about some things that maybe you need to avoid when you create real estate exit strategies. We'll be back right after this.
As I sit here and read article after article and see TV show after TV show, the normal person out there on the street cannot overcome their fear to get to the analytical part of this whole process. I'm not afraid of, and I'm actually ready for a recession, a crash of value of anything and everything. Why? It is the opportunity to do incredible stuff. But that's my analytical brain.
The United States has a very strong economy. We will return to our basic economic foundation. This is not going to be the end of the world for everyone. But you do need to take some action. And some actions will be more productive than others. And one of the things that I think you can do now is take this time, like you said, Del, people are going to be sitting at home, and you have a time right now to change your life. Make what you have work for you.
You need to get into Lifestyles right now.
Join us for our free online workshop. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
Welcome back to the show. So we're talking about exit strategies, and what I got into in the last segment, we were talking about depreciation recapture, and what that is, it's a thing where the IRS says investment property will be depreciated over 27 and a half years. Now, there are components within the investment property that actually are allowed to depreciate faster. And one of the things that we'll teach you when you come to our 2-day financial freedom seminar is we'll talk about cost segregating and things like that. But some things in your investment property depreciate faster. As an example, appliances, carpeting, furniture, they're allowed a 5-year depreciation schedule. Office furniture and equipment, if you happen to have those, 7 years. Fences and roads, 15 years. And then basically everything else, the residential, rental building structures, furnaces, water pipes, those depreciate over 27 and a half years. Now, I am not a CPA. I don't play a CPA on the radio. So consult qualified counsel. Trust me on this. Don't, just because I said it on the radio doesn't absolutely make it true. I do my best to give you the most accurate information I can give you, but I am not a CPA and I am not an attorney. If you need one, become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited. We have plenty of them that are available in our vendor program, and they'll get you going in the right direction. But if you sell the property, the IRS may assess what's called a depreciation recapture tax, which gets reported in your tax filing as ordinary income. So in other words, when the sales price of your investment property exceeds the purchase price minus the accumulated depreciation, you may be assessed the depreciation recapture fee. Depreciation recapture can be avoided by doing that 1031 exchange that I talked about in the previous segment. And as Greg pointed out on yesterday's show, you can use depreciation on other assets to offset this tax. The key thing is just keep growing your portfolio. So a lot of you are going to say, all right, Al, that's great. Thanks for the background stuff. I got it. Where do we start? Well, Let me be very clear there. Your investing goals will help determine which real estate exit strategy is right for you. Start by developing your long-range exit strategy. Consider how many properties you intend to buy and decide how long you plan to hold each property. As an example, when we teach you how to buy single-family income-producing properties, we teach you to fix everything up with the concept of, if it's going to break in the next 3 to 5 years, make sure you address that in the rehab plan and you address those things and you fix those things. The concept is this: if you have an exit strategy of 3 years, in other words, you want to sell the property in 3 years, you want to get all of your equity out of the property, and you want to move on to maybe 2 additional properties, most things won't have deteriorated. So it's not going to be that big of a heavy lift for you to get that property ready for sale. 5-year mark, pretty much the same thing. You may have a few more things that you have to address because the property is 2 years older. But the key thing is this: make sure that you know what you're planning to do when you go into it. If your goal is to build a specific amount of wealth and leave your rental properties to your heirs to sell, you want to consider what percentage of your estate could ultimately go to capital gains and estate taxes, and how that will impact your inheritance. If you choose succession planning, you want to identify and develop the next generation, which takes me right back to the most important concept, which is make sure they are properly educated. Otherwise, they may squander everything that you've built. And the most important aspect of determining which strategy is right for you is to begin with the end in mind. Review your goals periodically and then make adjustments. So, when we talk about planning your real estate exit strategy, remember, it's part of your overall business plan. Review your goals, the various real estate exit strategies you've selected, and write the steps of your business or strategic plan with the exit strategy as the outcome of that plan. Starting your business plan with the end in mind will keep you on track. However, you must remain flexible since the future is not guaranteed. Just look at what real estate has done over the last 6 months. I mean, we went into COVID-19. Everybody went, oh, doom and gloom, nobody's going to pay. Well, Lifestyles Unlimited, we found the opposite to be true. Almost everybody paid. And, now we're in a condition where, because there weren't very many properties going on the market through the spring buying section, and that continued into the summer, now all of a sudden we have people that are demanding properties, and there's just not a lot of inventory out there. And that's part of the reason my buddy Roger got so many offers on his property, because there is pent-up demand for that. So staying flexible will keep you ready for all potential outcomes. Now, there's a couple things you want to take into consideration, some mistakes you might want to avoid as you're going through this entire process. When you own that property, make sure you keep up with your maintenance and repairs. Again, if you're buying single-family properties the way we teach you how to buy them at Lifestyles Unlimited, you really aren't going to have many problems with maintenance and repairs, because you will have fixed everything that could go wrong in the next 3 to 5 years. It's part of the strategy, and it works very, very well. Now, if you're in the multifamily space, the key thing there is you always have a budget for maintenance. Even if you're renovating the entire property, you always have a maintenance budget. It's just the way it works with multifamily properties. Another thing you need to avoid is this: do not fill any vacancies with unscreened tenants. Let me say that again. Do not fill any vacancies you may acquire with unscreened tenants. I will tell you what, that is a recipe for disaster, because you just don't know who you're putting into your properties. I mean, one of the things that we teach you is how to effectively screen your tenants legally, ethically, and morally. We select the best residents from the biggest pool of possible people, and then we put them in our properties, and we make sure that, we're exchanging quality housing for, in exchange, their quality residency. It's just the way it is. Here's another thing you need to take into consideration. Make sure you have leases in place. Make sure you're taking appropriate security deposits in accordance with your local state ordinances. Make sure you have proper documents. I mean, if you spent an afternoon in housing court, you would see eviction after eviction where the landlord handed keys to a tenant with no lease or rental agreement and asked only for the first month's rent. Yeah, think it through. Think it through, and make sure you understand your leases need to be reviewed annually. We talk a lot about that in our educational program as to why that's important. So, and I don't want to play lawyer here. I don't want to get into that, but make sure you're doing everything correctly. Record keeping and bookkeeping. I will tell you what, this is one thing that will bite you in the butt when you go to sell your property, because the next potential investor is going to want to see what your property has been able to produce, especially in the multifamily space, because you evaluate properties based on what the property has performed at. I mean, the pricing is based on that also. So make sure you have adequate record keeping and bookkeeping. And don't overestimate the property's fair market value. Make sure that you're working with somebody who is well qualified to assist you with putting pricing on that property. I mean, I use one of my brokers, my real estate brokers, because they're in the business of doing these things, and they can give me a very good comprehensive review of what the property is worth in the marketplace. Very important stuff. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm following my own exit strategy right now. As some of you who've listened to the show for a long period of time, you know that I have 3 duplexes that I bought incorrectly long before I became a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, which I have corrected. I have increased the efficiency of those things. They're producing cash flow. They're doing great things. And you know what? They've appreciated over time. So it's time for me to exit those properties and reposition the money that I pull off of those properties into other assets. It's going to be a really cool experience. And I'll keep you informed as to how things are going. But I think the most important thing that you can do is do what Lee Reeves told you to do at the beginning of the show. If you know you're ready to become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, go to GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. That's GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Enter the promo code of DEL, that's DEL, and you will see an incredible price reduction off of our normal membership price. And remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Ready for more of the map? Visit lifestylesunlimited.com. Explore our videos and articles. Click on the radio tab to access past show podcasts. View the radio show schedule and listen to our best of radio shows. Want to continue the conversation? Follow Lifestyles Unlimited on Facebook today. Join us next time. And until then, remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station, its affiliates, its management, or advertisers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.